following episode depicts acts of violence and murder. Listener discretion is advised. It's just after midnight on September 22nd, 1992. Paulette Andrea pays her tab at Barney Google's neighborhood tavern on Washington Street in Worcester's Green Island neighborhood. She hugs her friends at the bar goodbye and exits the front door, taking a right on Harding Street and Ellsworth Street. Paulette has about a 15-minute walk home to her apartment on Lawrence Street. She never makes it. About 4 hours later, a passerby finds Paulette's body face down in a sandbox at a playground at Crompton Park. She's been strangled to death.
Unsolved Worcester is brought to you by the following sponsors. Follow the crowd through the doors of Donut Homies and say hi to Haley Noel, the donut queen of Worcester's Canal District. This month, the specialty donut shop features special Easter-themed flavors like Cocoa Nest and Rainbow Peep. Donut Homies is open inside the Worcester Public Market at 160 Green Street every Wednesday through Sunday at 11 a.m. Online ordering with delivery and pickup options is available at donuthomies.com. Follow Donut Homies on Facebook and Instagram for monthly menu drops, specials, and more. Donut Homies, everything sweeter with the homies.
Welcome to Unsolved Worcester. I'm your host, Dan Yeager. In today's episode, we share the unsolved murder case of 43-year-old Paulette Andrea, one of 10 unsolved murder cases we will explore during Season 4 of Unsolved Worcester. Paulette's body was discovered in the early hours of September 22nd, 1992, in a playground at Crompton Park. Paulette had been beaten and strangled to death, and she had been robbed of her wedding ring and pearl necklace. Unsolved Worcester takes a deep dive every Tuesday and Thursday into the unsolved murders and missing persons cases under investigation by the Worcester Police Department's Detective Unit. Our goal is to remind residents of the Worcester area, both past and present, there are dozens of unsolved homicides and missing persons cases that need resolution. We hope we can be the spark needed to solve a case. Be sure to visit Unsolved Worcester on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Unsolved Worcester. Listen to all episodes for free at unsolvedworcester.com and on your favorite podcast streaming platforms. And watch our accompanying video on YouTube. When Paulette Andrea died, she left behind 5 children. Her second husband, Stephen Andrea, her first husband, Philip Gregg, her mother, her stepfather, 3 brothers, and 4 grandchildren. At the time of her death, Paulette was working as a nurse's aide at the St. Francis home on Plantation Street. She had worked 5 years prior at the Providence House nursing home on Providence Street. Paulette was born in Holton, Maine. She was an American Indian, being raised in Nova Scotia, where she was a member of the Micmac Shubenacadie tribe. In Nova Scotia, Paulette was a victim of sexual abuse. She was abused by relatives on the Micmac Indian Reservation. In her late teens, she gave up 2 children for adoption and then moved to Massachusetts, taking a job as a home health aide. Fast forward 25 years, the 43-year-old Paulette was a regular at the former Barney Google's on Washington Street. where she was well liked by many and would often play darts. She even played on the Barney Google's dart team. The afternoon before she died, Paulette and her husband, Stephen, did what they always did, walked from their apartment on Lawrence Street down to Barney Google's. According to reports, the couple arrived at the bar early that afternoon. By 3 p.m., the couple had gotten to the bar and spent hours drinking, playing cards and darts with their friends. Around 9 p.m., Stephen decided to call it a night and went home without Paulette. Paulette would stay about 3 more hours playing darts before leaving Barney Google's around midnight. Her family said it wasn't like Paulette to leave and walk all the way home alone. But if we are to believe that's what happened, it could be that Paulette was intoxicated enough not to realize what she was doing and ran into someone who saw Paulette as an easy target. But family members told the Telegram and Gazette that she wouldn't walk home alone, and certainly wouldn't have taken a shortcut through Crompton Park alone to get there, leading them to believe that whoever killed Paulette was someone that she knew. Stephen Andrea, Paulette's husband, called the Worcester police and filed a report when his wife didn't come home from Barney Google's, although it's unclear what time that call was made. As we mentioned earlier, Stephen left the Green Island bar room roughly 3 or 4 hours before Paulette did, leaving Paulette to make the walk home alone to Lawrence Street. And there could be a reason for Stephen's early dismissal from Barney Google's. According to a report in the Telegram and Gazette, on the evening before Paulette was murdered, she and her daughter Sheila had dinner together. Later that same night, Paulette went to Barney Google's and played darts from 8 p.m. until the bar closed at 2 a.m. Sheila told former Telegram columnist Diane Williamson that over dinner, Paulette had discussed plans to divorce Stephen, citing Stephen's alleged alcoholism, jealousy, and abuse. Sheila said her mother just wanted peace in her life and described her mother's marriage to Stephen as turbulent and said she offered to have Paulette move in with her. During the course of the investigation into Paulette's murder, police questioned Stephen, as well as several regulars at Barney Google's. In early 2007, 15 years after Paulette's death, the Worcester police assigned a detective to revisit the cold case, but an arrest in the murder wasn't made. The peace Paulette sought never came, and instead she was beaten and strangled in a Crompton Park sandbox while she was just trying to get home. Paulette's body was discovered around 4:30 a.m. on September 22nd, 1992, in the playground just north of the Crompton Park basketball courts. She was fully clothed, wearing a sweatshirt, jeans, and sneakers. The medical examiner determined the cause of death to be strangulation. Police spent hours collecting evidence at the Crompton Park crime scene. Officers were dispersed through the neighborhood, asking residents if they had seen anything overnight out of the ordinary. They stopped at Barney Google's that afternoon with a photo of Paulette and questioned the small group of regulars that were already there. One of the regulars who lived in an apartment above the bar told a Telegram and Gazette reporter that Paulette was a sweetheart and never hurt anyone. He said everyone at the bar was angry and devastated. He said when police showed them Paulette's photo, everyone started crying. The murder of Paulette Andrea marked the 8th homicide in Worcester in 1992. Her death is one of 5 unsolved homicides from 1992, still under investigation by the Worcester Police Department. Paulette's murder in September 1992 would be the start of a string of violent murders of women in Worcester over the course of just 6 months. In December 1992, the burned body of Denise Como was discovered after a fire on Austin Street. A month later, in January 1993, the body of Vicki Lettinen was found in the basement of a Pleasant Street apartment building. The following month, on February 4th, 1993, the bodies of Sonia Blanco and Evelyn Cruz found dumped on different streets just a few miles apart from each other. We shared Sonia and Evelyn's stories in Season 2. We will share Vicki and Denise's stories in Episode 4 this season. A memorial tree planting at University Park was held in 1993 to honor the memory of all 5 women. On April 28, 2023, Worcester's Advisory Committee on the Status of Women will once again honor these women and the lives of other women murdered in Worcester with a plaque dedication and tree planting at University Park. Stay tuned to Unsolved Worcester for more details of the memorial event in the coming weeks. For many years following Paulette Andrea's murder, her family, along with several city organizations, organized vigils each year on September 22nd at Crompton Park. Family members would tie yellow ribbons on the trees in the park near the location where Paulette's body was found. They held candles, shared stories, and asked anyone that wanted to sign a book and share fond memories of Paulette. The first annual vigil was held in early October 1992, just weeks after Paulette was killed. It was organized by Worcester's Advisory Committee on the Status of Women, calling for an end to violence against women in Worcester. It was at that first vigil that Paulette's friends theorized that she was attacked by more than one person. They told reporters Paulette could handle herself, describing Paulette as a scrapper that could easily take a large person down to the ground. Funeral services for Paulette, who went by the name of Barbara, were held 3 days after her death at Sacred Heart Church on Cambridge Street. Paulette is buried at Worcester County Memorial Park in Paxton, where a small gravestone reads, Barbara Bragg Andrea, and in parentheses, Paulette Coppage, 1949 to 1992. Thank you for listening. I'm Dan Yeager. If you enjoyed listening to this episode, please consider clicking the like button for us. And if you subscribe, the next episodes will show up in your feed. Click the bell on the right and select all, and you'll get a notification when the next episode is ready. If you have any thoughts you'd like to share, please leave them in the comments below. We do read them all and respond to as many as we can. Anyone with information about what happened to Paulette Andrea are asked to contact the Worcester Police Detective Bureau at 508-799-8651 or send an anonymous text at 274-637. Write TIP WPD plus your message, or send an anonymous web-based message at worcesterma.gov/police. Come back on Thursday for episode 4 of Unsolved Worcester Season 4. The Solved or Unsolved episode special looking at the murders of Vicki Lettinen and Denise Como. Law enforcement authorities believe Vicky's killer is James Earl Johnson, the same man that is linked to the murder of Denise Comeau. Special thanks to Worcester Public Library, the Worcester Police Department, the City of Worcester, and our sponsors for making this possible. Information on the murder of Paulette Andrea was gathered from multiple resources, including the Telegram and Gazette and more. The Unsolved Worcester podcast music is provided by Tabla Belzik of the Worcester Jazz Collective. This episode is written and produced by Pat Sargent. Drone footage provided by Ron Scott at New England Skypix. Videography and editing by Colin Turner. Sponsorship information announcer Chandler Walsh. Be sure to check out the video for this episode with exclusive aerial views and more on our Unsolved Worcester YouTube page. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This episode is supported in part by a grant from the Worcester Arts Council and the National Endowment for the Arts. To find out more about how National Endowment for the Arts grants impact individuals and communities, visit www.arts.gov.